Over a Campfire. Chapter 11. A Rose for Mike. The sky above Willow Creek Academy was a dull shade of gray, the kind of color that wrapped around your heart and told you it was okay to be sad. Raindrops clung to the leaves like unshed tears, and the breeze that swirled through the courtyard seemed quieter than usual, as if the world itself was in mourning. A black bus idled at the front gate, its windows fogged from the breath of silent students inside. No chatter, no laughter, no joking over seat choices. Not today. Gina stared out the window, arms crossed, eyes glassy. She hadn't said much since the morning. Even Jason Whitman, who normally arrives late, was early today. Caleb did not argue or cause any nuisance today. Ahead of them, Ms. Blakely stood at the front of the bus, clipboard in hand. "Today is about remembering Mike," she said quietly. "About saying goodbye. Let's be respectful for him, for his family, and for one another." The students nodded solemnly. No one dared to challenge her authority today. The funeral home was nestled between tall trees on the edge of town. Its stone walls were covered in ivy, and the old iron gate creaked as the bus pulled into the gravel lot. A large white banner fluttered above the entrance, reading, "In loving memory of Michael Luke, 2012 to 2025. They filed out slowly, students in dark clothes and polished shoes, teachers walking ahead with linked arms or hands on students' shoulders. Lena clutched her envelope tighter. Maya walked on her left, Mia on her right, and Rory trailed just behind, uncharacteristically quiet. Inside, the space was cool and softly lit. A casket rested at the front, closed, surrounded by white lilies, framed photos, and candles in tall glass holders. A large portrait of Mike smiled from an easel nearby, his eyes bright, his mouth mid-laugh, his favorite red hoodie slung around his shoulders. Photos of Mike lined the walls, snapshots of a life lived fully, even if briefly. Laughter frozen in time. Mike playing soccer, Mike with birthday cake smeared on his nose, Mike grinning with Gina and Hannah in a schoolyard selfie. Gina's chest tightened. That's exactly how she wanted to remember him. The police, after 3 days of examinations and whispers behind closed doors, had finally returned Mike to his family. But with it came silence. The results of the postmortem, what had caused a 12-year-old boy to die so suddenly, so mysteriously in a wooden cabin on a school trip, were not to be shared. Ongoing investigation, the officer had said flatly to Ms. Blakely, "We can't risk compromising it. The report will remain sealed until we know who we're dealing with." Who? The word lingered in Gina's mind like smoke. Who we're dealing with? Not what. Not how. Who? They believed someone had done this. They all sat in pews toward the middle, students on one side, teachers behind. The front row was filled with Mike's family, his mother and father, holding each other's hands tightly, a teenage girl with her arms wrapped around her knees, and an elderly man with a cane, who dabbed his eyes every few minutes with a handkerchief. A soft piano piece played from the corner, Mr. Hahn, hunched gently over the keys, playing a version of River Flows in You that echoed through the room with aching sweetness. The service began with a man in a black robe offering a few words about grief and memory, about how no life, no matter how short, is ever forgotten. He was only 12, but he filled rooms with laughter. "And now, in the quiet he left behind, we remember how bright he burned," said Ms. Rayner softly. Then came the speeches. Ms. Blakely stepped to the front, pausing for a moment before speaking. Her clipboard was nowhere in sight. "Mike Lou was not an easy student to keep in one place," she said with a soft chuckle. A few kids smiled faintly. "But he was kind, thoughtful. He had this gift, this infectious energy that made people feel like anything was possible." She cleared her throat. "When we went on that camp trip, I saw sides of Mike I hadn't seen in the classroom. He helped carry water for the team. He made a skit that had everyone laughing around the fire. And when his friends were lost, he was the one who went out looking for them. That was the kind of person Mike was. He gave, even when no one was looking." She stepped down, wiping her cheek. The room stilled when Rory rose from the pew. He walked slowly, hands deep in his pockets, head low. He looked smaller than usual, like someone had taken the fire out of him. I didn't know Mike for as long as some of you did," Rory began, standing beside the podium. "But we shared a room at camp. He told me stories all night. Dumb stories about haunted tents and cursed marshmallows." A soft chuckle ran through the students. "I didn't hear him get up. I didn't hear anything that night. But I keep thinking, maybe if I had." He stopped. His voice cracked. "Mike was my friend," he finished quietly. "And I miss him. Rory turned, stepping down before his tears could fall. Gina stood next. She held no notes, no paper, only her voice. Mike used to doodle in the margins of his math tests. Every time, she smiled faintly. Even if it was a test worth 50%, there'd be a dragon or a dog playing basketball in the corner. A few students nodded, remembering. He wasn't perfect, but he made us laugh with his bad jokes and was always there to lift us up when we felt low. He made our little trio feel complete. Gina's voice caught, and she looked down. I'll miss his dumb jokes. And I hope, wherever he is, he's still making someone laugh. She stepped down in silence. Gina came and sat stiffly between Mia and Lena, her hands clenched in her lap. Her eyes burned from holding back tears, but something else had begun gnawing at her gut. She leaned to the side and whispered, Have you seen Hannah? Mia turned slightly. Hannah? No. I haven't seen her since morning. Gina turned and scanned the room more carefully. Parents, students, teachers, but no Hannah. Her heart gave a small lurch. She leaned back in her chair and slid her hand into her coat pocket, pulling out her phone. The screen glowed. 8:47 a.m. She opened Hannah's contact and hit call. The line rang. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then, the number you have dialed is unavailable. Please try again later. She's not answering, she whispered, now leaning toward Jason, who had just sat down beside her again. That's not like her. Jason raised an eyebrow. Maybe she's sick? Or stayed home with her parents? She didn't say anything, Gina replied, her voice low. She'd never miss this. She and Mike were close. Jason's face softened. Try again. Gina did. Again. And again. No response. Her thumb hovered uncertainly over the screen. She sent a quick message. Hey, where are you? I'm getting worried. Please call me back. She stared at the little gray checkmark. No red notification. Mike's older cousin, Ethan, stepped up to the lectern. He was maybe 16, tall, angular, and visibly shaken. Mike was more than just my little cousin, Ethan began, voice cracking. He was the loudest person in the room. The one who always had a joke, even if it didn't make sense. He made life feel less heavy. Gina's heart was racing. She stood slowly. I'm going to the restroom, she whispered to Ms. Collins, who gave her a nod, gently brushing her shoulder. But Gina didn't head to the bathroom. She slipped into the quiet corridor outside the chapel, pulled out her phone again, and this time called Hannah's mother. Straight to voicemail. Her lips pressed into a thin line. Something was wrong, and it wasn't just the police hiding information anymore. Meanwhile, a wooden memory box was passed down the rows. Each student slipped in their letter, note, or drawing. Gina placed her envelope inside and touched the lid gently. Mike's sister placed a folded red hoodie on the edge of the casket. His favorite, she whispered, loud enough for a few to hear. He wore it too much. Then came the final tribute. The funeral director offered a tray of white roses. Each guest took one and walked to the front, laying their flower beside Mike's casket, whispering their goodbye. Thanks for everything, Gina murmured. You were funnier than me, Jason said softly. Rory didn't say a word, just laid his flower and walked out. When it was Mia's turn, she stood for a moment, rose in hand. She placed it on the casket. Goodbye, Mike, she whispered. You won't be forgotten. Outside, the rain had stopped, but the air was heavy. Trees swayed gently overhead. Students stood in small clusters. No one rushed to get on the bus. Ms. Jordan handed out small cups of hot chocolate. Mia and Lena sat on a bench, sipping quietly. Dan and Caleb stood side by side for once, not arguing. Gina looked across the lot and saw Mike's mother approach. She had kind eyes, tired and red-rimmed. You're Hannah, aren't you? She asked gently. No, I am Gina. Hannah could not make it today. I'm not sure, but maybe she is torn up from all of this, Gina said softly. He talked about Hannah and you too, she said, smiling sadly. Thank you for being his friend. Gina didn't know what to say. She only nodded, and for a moment, they stood there together, grief shared, if not spoken. The next morning, the school was supposed to return to normal. But it didn't. The funeral had left a quiet weight over Willow Creek's classrooms felt colder, teachers more distracted, and students were still treading through the hallways as though stepping over a memory that hadn't fully faded. By 9 a.m., murmurs began. By 10 a.m., they became whispers. By lunch, they were full-blown gossip. Hannah Carlisle was missing. In Class 7B, the students sat in neat rows, eyes flicking between the front of the room and the seat by the window, Hannah's seat, still empty. Gina kept glancing at the door, chewing at her pen. Mia tapped her fingers nervously on her desk. Even Jason didn't have the heart to make a joke. Miss Jordan walked in, adjusting her glasses, but her cheerful tone was gone. "There's no class today," she said, voice tight. "We're going to the common hall. Please stay together and don't leave without telling a teacher." As they filed out, Zoe leaned toward Lena and whispered, "Do you think she ran away?" "Don't be ridiculous," Lena muttered. "She probably just needed time." "I mean," Zoe lowered her voice. "What if it's not just that?" The students sat in the school's common hall, fidgeting and murmuring among themselves. Ms. Blakely was pacing near the back, phone pressed to her ear. Ms. Rayner stood watchfully by the doors. Something was definitely wrong. "She didn't show up to the funeral either," Ava whispered to Mia. "That's weird, right?" "She and Mike were best friends," Mia whispered back. "She'd never miss it, unless something's seriously wrong." Jason slid into the seat next to Gina. "Hey," he said, gently. "You okay?" Gina nodded slowly. "Just worried." "About Hannah?" "About everything." Jason hesitated. "You don't think people are saying?" "She didn't do it," Gina snapped, louder than she meant. Several heads turned. She looked away. In the corner, Rory sat with his arms crossed. His jaw was tight, eyes narrowed. "She left on purpose," he muttered to Dan. Dan raised an eyebrow. "You think?" "She was acting strange on the hike. Wandering off, disappearing for half an hour. And now she's just gone." Caleb, overhearing, scoffed. "Maybe she freaked out. Mike was her best friend. Wouldn't be the first time someone ran off because of grief." "She knew something," Rory insisted. "She was there when we went to bed that night, right? Same hallway. And now poof." Zoe turned to face them, his voice dry as always. "Unless you're saying Hannah's the killer, I suggest you keep your conspiracy theories to yourself." Rory didn't answer, but his eyes didn't drop either. Meanwhile, in the staff room, panic was quietly brewing. Ms. Blakely lowered her phone and turned to the rest of the team. "She hasn't been seen since yesterday afternoon. Her parents haven't heard from her either." "She's never skipped a day without telling someone," Ms. Jordan said, clearly rattled. "Could she be in danger?" Mr. Hahn asked. Ms. Collins shook her head. "We don't know enough yet." "We should notify the police," Ms. Rayner said grimly. "She may be missing. And considering what just happened with Mike." Silence fell. They all thought the same thing, but no one said it aloud. Was Hannah running from something? Or someone? Who killed Mike? What did Hannah find out? Will she be able to tell the police? Who will help her? Are the others in danger? Answers coming soon.